and we have a great agenda coming up. Shree, I'm going to put you on the spot for a joke.
Oh, let me think.
All right, let me think. It's a great joke. We have improvements coming. Talk about the MOSO drop. Talk about the pollen grants program, and I'll have Christian talk through that if he can get his setup working, which will be actually Christian and Andrew, and we'll introduce Andrew as part of this as well. And then Christian will also follow up on gaming, and then we'll talk about kind of one of our pollen meetups in New York coming online next, and Sierra will take us through that. So first off, Honeybee app, most of you got the updates now. We launched the latest version with the app, with what the range you can expect to be able to cover in an ideal situation.
And you want to talk all about the real world kind of A/B testing?
Yes, slightly different from just this, but we're, everybody loves to know how much coverage are you going to get, what kind of range you're going to get, and obviously that's an extremely tricky / variable thing that's depending on the conditions. So we're trying to set up a set of fixed locations, in a city, in suburb, and in a rural area, to then go run tests with different radios in the exact same location and show signal strength, upload speeds, and everything on the same exact conditions, so that we can get a feel for what different parameters will affect the connectivity. Because clearly, some random radio manufacturer might specify X kilometer of range, but if you put that in the city, you're not going to get X kilometers of range because there's buildings in the way and so forth. But we want to have some representative installation and recommended installation settings, and then go out and show what real world testing does on that, so that we can have a really apples to apples comparison, and everybody can see how to get the best coverage from that. So we think that's really important, because without that we can't really get a good reading for what your distance you're going to get. The power and antenna gain help. We've noticed that the height is the most important factor on that. So if you can mount higher, you'll get much more range than if you're powerful but slower down. Bumblebees will be available. There'll be one per in the kits. Although we're not selling them as kits, right? Do you want to talk about that, Christian?
Yeah. So we're going to be having the radios available for sale, a la carte, and then if you also want a Bumblebee, Bumblebees will only be available if you're buying a radio. So won't be able to buy a Bumblebee standalone, but we'll be able to buy a radio standalone.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, the other thing I would say is that we're thinking potentially that the height at which you can mount your device might affect the maximum hex limits. We're seeing some people that have really good premium building locations that are top of 30 plus story buildings that are able to cover more distance than expected, and so there might be something that we do to adjust for that, to match the reality of the installations, and go from there.
Yeah, it's something we're actively exploring. I think Christian mentioned it in the Discord as something we might test out and retune our algorithm for. We still have to kind of nail down how we would accurately assess height and how we would prevent people from spoofing their height and etc. But it's an idea that we had that we might implement in the future.
That's great. Okay, so the drop will be on not our website, but on mosolabs.com. And it's going to be Wednesday at 12 Pacific noon or 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be also deploying a early version of Botanist. Thank you for the proper pronunciation. With the MOSO drop. And this is kind of a new way of claiming your NFTs and streamlining the process. And if Zeus is on, we can hear.
She might not be on.
Okay, so do you want to talk about that?
I can definitely talk about it. So in the past, we've had kind of a clunky way of doing the NFT assignment. You guys have sent your NFT wallets, make sure it's updated, make sure you get the right ones. And then we've been automating the sends of the NFTs. It's been happening after the fact, before you reach after the fact of ordering, but before you actually get your device usually, or around the same time your device ships is when your NFTs are going out. So the new paradigm is slightly different, and we expect it to be a lot more streamlined and straightforward. So the steps for this process that are different now are we now have a web app that will allow you to register your devices when you receive them. What this means is you will have a specific setup flow that you follow for every device, and the device NFT will not be sent to your wallet until you follow that full device flow. Another issue that we've been seeing a lot of is people have been entering incorrect wallet information or improper wallet information. We plan on introducing checks to help people out and make sure that they're not giving wallets that are invalid or that can't be sent to. But on the flip side, this method really is really keyed on sending the right wallet information, because we find your order information based on the wallet information that you give us, and that's how we assign you the NFT. And so in the future, we will be potentially stricter on requiring wallet information at the time of sale and making it so that that can't necessarily be changed. So that's just a kind of a forewarning for you guys on the purchase process with Moso and other vendors in the future, is that we really need you guys to lock down those wallets and put them in at the time of ordering correctly. We understand there's user error, there's input errors, whatever, right? Like you can still contact support and get it changed if it hasn't been shipped yet. And we'll still support those kinds of tickets. But that step is going to be very crucial. I feel like we've been pretty lenient so far on the wallet piece. But as a crypto project, it's going to start becoming really critical that you guys use the right wallets at the right times, or else it's going to be tough to send the NFTs to the right people. But the new flow makes it a lot easier for you to receive your NFTs, because basically you go through the web app. The web app lets you set up the device. It gives you troubleshooting steps for situations where you may have improperly set up your device or your device is not broadcasting. And once you've gone through all those setup steps, it will confirm to you that the device is working, and then it will send you your NFT. And so you will have gone through the entire flow of setup, provisioning, and of testing the actual coverage of your device before you receive your NFT. And this will hopefully reduce the amount of support and the amount of support tickets that you guys send, because you'll have a lot more clarity and feedback on what's actually happening with your device at the time of setup. And it'll also hopefully eliminate the need to send NFTs back or have NFTs reassigned or things like that. We're introducing a more streamlined process such that we can assign and associate the hardware to the NFTs in a much cleaner way. And so because we're introducing that process, we're hoping that you guys will be able to very seamlessly just scan the QR code, go through the app flow, and get your NFTs and be done. I realize that's a huge change. It's a big paradigm shift to how we were doing it before, but we really think this will be much easier for the user. And we also think that this will enable us to allow vendors to sell more and more products more easily too. And so this new process is not only opening up a better user experience for you guys, but it's also opening up the ability for the vendors to open the taps and sell many, many more flowers in the near future. And so, yeah, we're really excited about the new process. We'll be giving out more information when the drop happens, and you guys will have intimate knowledge of the process after the first drop, just a couple weeks after we drop and actually ship.
And forgot to mention this, but they're both going to be on Greenhouse. It's the only option available here. And they will be multi-radio per single IP, unlike the current dandelions, which have a firmware limitation of that we're still waiting to fix. And the ETA on that, I think we heard, was October.
October, yeah. So just to clarify on what Anthony just mentioned, we know there is currently a bug with greenhouse dandelions not properly using the IEPS service, And so that's a known bug. That's something that we're addressing with the manufacturer directly. We need fixes from the manufacturer to get it to work properly. That's only the case for greenhouse dandelions. All other greenhouse flowers that we ship in the future will have IEPS enabled. Specifically, the Moso flower will have IEPS enabled.
And the dandelions are getting an upgrade on that.
And and the dandelions will get an upgrade to make sure that they are IEPS enabled in the future. That was the timeline that Anthony just mentioned. That's the fix that we're working on with the manufacturer. We're expecting it to come through around October, excuse me. So that was a lot of info. Any quick questions on what we just described with Moso or with the new NFT flow?
Just jump in anytime you have a question. Actually, Pollen Grants Program, do you want to talk about that? Christian, you want to introduce Andrew?
Yeah. Let's bring Andrew up. If everybody, I don't know if everybody saw the announcement, Andrew Fisher from Noble Networks has been chosen as our first administrator. I think he's in here. Yeah, here he is. Okay. I just invited him up. Let's see if that works. So we're really excited about that. We've been working with Andrew in the background to get the everything set up to open up the first open up the website set up and open up the first batch of applications. Looks like Andrew's on stage now. Hey, Andrew.
Yes, I'm here. I just I can't hear you guys for some reason, but it's fine. How's it going, everyone?
Oh, you can't hear us?
Oh, now I can. I guess it went off speaker. I'm on my phone. I'm actually just getting off of a building.
He was just sharing some pretty sick photos that hopefully are going up on Twitter soon. But sorry to interrupt the work, but appreciate you making the call. Do you just want to give a quick update on the plan and anything else you want to say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, first off, I just wanted to say thank you guys for letting me take a shot at this. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see how the community, all the ideas the community comes up with, and how we can really, put this into overdrive in terms of like community development. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then, so the plan at the moment is we're actually working on the website to get the website up. I believe we should have it up in the next, I'd say around 1.5 weeks or so, maybe 2 weeks. We should have the website up and open for submissions. I know that we're doing 3 grants to start off with, I believe. Is that right, Christian?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to go 3 grants of 100,000 PCN each.
Yeah. So we're going to be looking for all kinds of stuff, increasing monetization, a bunch of developer tools, cool projects that people have got, charitable things. There's all kinds of, we're going to put together a whole list of different categories that we're looking for. And yeah, I can't wait to check out everyone's ideas and work with you on these grants.
Awesome. Excited to have you on board.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
It doesn't look like anybody has any questions for Andrew, but if you want to stay on stage, you're more than welcome. We can see if anybody has anything.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Next topic is an update on the gaming kind of escrow bounty program. So it's been a few weeks since the last call. We announced we'd done the investigation, talked to flower owners. We determined, and the flower owners agreed that it was pretty clear that at least in most cases, the hosts were participating in activities that fell under our classification of gaming or cheating. As discussed, we have gotten them to pull the flowers and bumblebees, the offending devices from those hosts, and they've agreed to place those with new hosts and lay down clear guidelines that around what constitutes legal behavior. They are on notice that if this happens again, a permanent blacklisting and ban is likely the outcome. And based on the feedback we got from the community on the last call and the follow-ups from that, we did extend the escrow. We're currently planning on releasing the summary of what we found this week. I know you guys have been waiting for it, but we've been holding off until we determined kind of the finality of what we were going to do. And we're planning on releasing the devices from escrow on September 1st and distributing all of the PCN that have been accumulating in escrow to the community pro rata based on what you've earned from when those devices first went into escrow, which I think was in June. I don't have the specifics in front of me, but it's a substantial amount of PCN, and we think that our current estimate is it's something in excess of 1 million PCN have been diverted back to the community from putting this escrow in place. So we think that this is a fair outcome. Obviously, I think not everybody's going to agree, but would love to hear any feedback you guys have. And then in terms of the bounty program going forward, I think we talked about this, but just to reemphasize, and this will be in the write-up as well, the program that we're establishing on a go-forward basis is that anybody who identifies devices or owners or wallets or whatever who are gaming the system and fall into the definition of cheating, if those devices get put into escrow and the result of the investigation, the outcome is a conclusion that there was indeed cheating, and all the PCN in the escrow is distributed to the community, whoever was that person or persons providing the initial analysis and intel that something fishy was going on will get 10% of all of the PCN that had accumulated in escrow. And that's the bounty piece of the program. It's obviously designed to reward folks for finding cheaters and finding the biggest ones first. So that was a lot. Let me stop there. And I think actually we're through the agenda. I don't think we're going to talk about New York quite yet, I'm hearing. We are planning tentatively on being in New York for mainnet and potentially presenting at an event there. Not at mainnet, but a surrounding mainnet. We'll have more on that, but yeah, I think that's it. Anything else? Anthony, or
Yeah, there's a couple of other things we're gonna straggler add-on agenda items. We want to kind of quickly talk about the continuity bonus that we're thinking of doing. Right, obviously we want to have a usable network, and so we want to have continuous coverage of hex that are touching each other's that have continuous connectivity in is one, and another one is we want to also make sure that the bumblebees are having connectivity most of the time. So for instance, it's fine to be attached to a different tower and go to a new hex and not attached to another tower that's providing coverage. But if somebody has like a unit inside their house and it provides only service to them inside the house, and somebody outside the street's driving by with their bumblebee and they can't get it attached, we're thinking of a way to scale down the rewards for that in order to be able to foster organic network growth. So the two things there are connectivity bonus, so adjacent squares that close in the gaps inside an area that's there gets higher rewards than if they don't. And then two is if you're providing coverage to a hex, but the hex is really only like your basement, then and everybody else who's coming through there can't get attaches, there will be some sort of scaling for that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like in the past, we have thought of making more stringent requirements for earning, right? So like in the past, we had a requirement where and this is all testing, that we haven't done it in real application, but we tested a requirement that required at least 2 different bumblebees to attach to a flower in order for a flower to earn. That might be a little too draconian because we don't have as much density yet.
Yeah,
but
the question would be like
it might be
like if 4 bumblebees came to a hex and only one was able to connect, then that might be different versus you might require 2 at that point or something.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, there's a few like more layering metrics that we could like start to introduce, but just giving an example of the type of metric we might use to determine if you're kind of self-pollinating or something, right? So trying to make sure that you're providing coverage not just to yourself, but to anyone and everyone that comes by.
No, I think if you're providing just to yourself, it's worth something. It's just not as worth as much as if you're providing it to the street nearby, etc.
Yeah, that's fair.
And love to get feedback on those 2 points because I think those are like changes that will make the network better, but maybe we're not thinking the same way that everybody else is. And then another point we want to talk about is we're going to be introducing a bug bounty program too. So not just a bounty for cheaters, but a bounty for if you can report, different severities of issues with pollen and kind of have a working exploit, etc. Based on the severity, we're going to be rewarding the folks that highlight that to us in an outline process. And I think that's just a good part of maturing, of having a good bug bounty program, so that we can discover issues and close them before they get exploited. So nothing more specific to that. It's just kind of an early preview of that. Anything else, Ree?
I think some people were wondering if there was a rewards delay or a problem with the rewards. So far, we haven't reported anything in terms of, or we haven't seen anything reported in terms of problems with rewards. We did see one specific type of honeybee reward log that was uploaded to us that was kind of suspect. So this is kind of like more anti-gaming stuff that we were exploring, but for the first time ever, we got logs that we didn't expect to get, which was kind of crazy, but it's something we're looking into, and it didn't affect the rest of the rewards processing because we were able to catch it early, but it is something that we are slightly concerned about, so we're looking into that. But other than that, I haven't seen any systemic issues with rewards. I know there was some chatter about people missing some coverage or some validation activities from the rewards logs. So please do talk to me separately or send support tickets so that we can investigate them if you have specific problems. But again, I haven't seen systemic problems with respect to not paying out or not paying out on time. I think the one other thing that I'll touch on is Explorer. I think there's been a lot of talk about Explorer being delayed or the results in the Explorer being stale. And the reality is they're being updated as soon as they can possibly be updated in our current infrastructure and framework. I realize we've been promising real-time feedback for a while now, but it's something we're working on. It's a very complicated process for us. But until we have that real-time feedback, we're trying to work on speeding up the rewards engine as well and showing you that information as soon as possible. Just for some insight, like right now, it takes about half a day for all the rewards to be processed. That includes analyzing all the logs, doing all the anti-gaming, doing all of the other checks and activities that we do while we do the rewards engine. It's also the only method that populates all of the database information that you guys are using right now, whether it be the API or whether it be the Explorer to visualize those things. So we are currently working on methods to parallelize those rewards activities and to distribute it out to multiple nodes so that it can be done in a faster manner and it can be done in a decentralized manner. That's something we're still working on, but we hope to have a fix for that in the near future, and we hope that will also increase the speed at which you guys get information about the rewards. So that's all to say, like, I realize that it's taking almost a day and a half for you guys to see the rewards that you earned previously. And so we realize that's a little slow, but we're working on it and we're going to have a fix soon. And so that's all I wanted to say about that.
IG unit. Andrew, anything else?
No, it looks like we've got a bunch of questions in the BeeHive. Should we start ripping through those?
Yeah, let's do it. Let me pull down the chat. Here we go.
We'll start from the top here. Yeah.
Max just dunking on short people, apparently.
Yeah, no, hi.
Does the
Yeah.
Pollen team have any near-term plans to ramp up production for more exponential growth of the network? Do you want to take that, Anthony? Do you want me to talk about it a little bit?
Let me hear what you guys say about this.
Well, so I think one of the main things that we've done is enable vendors to sell many, many, many more radios in the near future. That's a huge improvement. That was something that we, like up until now, as you guys know, each product is individually etched with a unique code.
It's artisanal.
It's artisanal, yes.
It's made by love with many engineers.
Bespoke products that we're selling to you. We're still planning on selling individually customized products, but we've really streamlined the way that we have to do that customization and how the vendors have to do that customization. And so we think that that will enable a massive, maybe exponential growth in the number of radios that they can sell in the future. So we see that as being a huge multiplier for us in the very near future. And I think the first drop where we will use this new functionality is MOSO. So you guys will see it in the next couple of weeks. And I think it's only up from there. So you will see very soon that we'll bring on more radios, more partners, and we'll have more capacity to do those things because of the changes and innovations we've made. One of the biggest innovations, as you guys already know, was Greenhouse. It was a huge limiting factor for us in terms of using Magma to try to get everything on, all the radios working and provision. And so Greenhouse is a big multiplier, and we see this NFT process as another big multiplier for the near future.
Yeah, we want to do, also part of the network is we want to go, we're not quite ready for the demand side as well, but we want to grow the both supply and demand to make sure that those stay in sync and grow there. We think the continuous coverage is going to be the biggest way to differentiate and build connectivity on that.
I'd also add two things. One, we've hinted at it a lot, and our plans are firming up around. We'll have another OEM coming online shortly after MOSO that we're excited about. MOSO is going to be selling direct on their website, and once we get through the initial drops, making sure that we don't have any issues at scale, we are moving towards having more continuous supply available. The other thing I would note, and this gets to a question from Big Mac Sauce /Belly, which I would really love to know more about that name. Asking about, are we going to invest in advertising for Pollen? Can't say too much yet, I don't think, but the short answer is yes. We're working on some exciting stuff. So to Anthony's point about supply and demand, we're working.
Yeah, we want to be the world's smallest M&M. So that's part of getting there. So part of that, so in terms of offload partner, I think we have three, we're in talks with three now. We're getting close to having contracts with one and technical integrations with one and then one more. It's very secretive, but we were excited to have this online. I think it's going to be a really nice way to get the ball rolling on traffic. Again, I think that the traffic is really dependent on density. Having a radio here and there is nice, but we want to make sure we can get as much continuity as we can.
I think, just to be a broken record, like our response generally to that is our highest priority is monetizing the network as quickly as possible. Otherwise, this is all just a fun experiment, right?
Yeah, in fact, I almost thought it the other way around. I say, this is an experiment, and we hope that we can make it work out by making this. And so we're working really hard on it, but it's a really tricky adventure that we're all embarked on here. Can you give an update on when the back pay for the honeybee glitch?
I think we're still working on calculating out the back pays for that, so it'll be in the future, but we don't have an update on exactly when that'll be.
A rough update?
Maybe next week.
All right. It sounds more serious when you don't laugh after that.
No, that's fair. Yeah,
estimate.
I don't mean to laugh at the estimate. I'm just nervously laughing about getting it done because I have a ton of stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. Continuous bonus, aka let's give all the PCN to Houston. Love it. Ooh, I want to hear more about that, Max. All right. I don't have a comment on it, but I feel like we should check that out. Okay. How does pollen incentivize indoor flowers like bonsai, for instance? If indoor flowers will get reduced in rewards in the future? Ooh, that's a very good question. We want to have the incentive basically being from the honeybee attaches that are being used in a specific area, and the traffic, which is where we want to get to. Right now we expect kind of the bonsais to be placed maybe like near a window, so you would kind of like cover your house and then maybe the street in front of it. My point where I was talking about before is we want to see some of the flowers where they only get pollinated by 2 honeybees and 1 bumblebee every day, and no other bumblebees that are coming here are actually able to pick it up, which would be, I think, something that would get fixed when we get continuity, where like there's one that's outside and then there's one that's inside. If you have continuity, that might be sufficient there.
And also, I think the data credits, like phase two part of it, where we're using data we're calculating how much data a flower sends and like incentivizing based on the data that's transferred. I think that'll really help the indoor flowers because a lot of the times when you're indoor and you're sitting there, like you're continuously using the coverage and you're continuously using the network. And so I think the indoor flowers might see a lot more like data transferred internally, especially if they're in like hotspots like a coffee shop or something like that. Yeah. So I think there is some organic incentivization that'll happen there, but I think we also may have to in the future tune that depending on how it turns out.
Yeah, we think with the number of attaches, that's a pretty good proxy for users and going around here. In light of recent FUD around helium, LoRa, and lack of rewards, how does Pollen plan to educate potential flower buyers? I'd love to hear more about the FUD around. I mean, I heard some rumors of some partners that weren't really partners, etc. Key thing we're doing is we're trying to, the reason why we're building out Pollen is to build a network. We think that the side benefit is that we're making something valuable for the flower owners and the people that use it versus kind of becoming what people have told me is like a get rich quick. Buy this and you'll make lots of money. We hope that everybody gets a good investment, but effectively, like the main thing is we're focused on building a usable network. We've had a lot of folks kind of actually pointing the LoRa helium FUD and kind of using that as a differentiating feature for how they see pollen as different from helium. Again, we're focusing on building the best network out there. I hope that's helpful. Okay, since there isn't anti-gaming honeybee rules, can you please explain what kind of gaming was noted?
I don't think we're ready for that yet because we haven't made an official decision on what to do. We don't really have evidence as to whether it's a malicious type of gaming or not. So it was probably too early for me to mention it, but we'll have a more comprehensive understanding of it soon, probably in the next couple of days, and then we'll definitely report back to you guys on what happened.
Yeah, so investing in pollen advertising, yes, that will be coming. Short flowers, not people. Okay, flowers have feelings too. Anti-gaming has increased a lot. Any plans to go aggressive? I'm not sure I understand what you mean by go aggressive. Go more aggressive against the gaming?
I think he
clarifies that. Okay,
he had another.
Okay, anti-gaming, especially BBs popping up for flowers that there is no way they would connect. Happens on the same flowers with the same set of bumblebees. Any anti-gaming BBs reports? Well, we want to get the reports out, and we want to have people being able to do identify bounties and say we think this is cheating, and then we can do an escrow.
So I think
that's the best way to do it. Like, it's not the best way of doing it, but that's an additional way of doing it. We are looking at all the behaviors of the BBs so that we can actually train our models to find that behavior happening
Yeah, and it sounds like if you
background.
see stuff, like tell us, right? Like we will investigate if you see something. So please like let us know, whether it be support ticket or reaching out to us again, and we will do our due diligence and let you know what we find.
We're also debating, should we be making more granular data available, how to balance that with privacy. So if folks have views on that, that'd be welcome.
That makes sense. Yeah, next question is, do we plan on upload, download latency requirements to provide best coverage? We do, yeah. Right now, it's purely, I see it kind of in the 3 layers of gaming first, or not gaming, of stages of growth for the network. The first is coverage growth, where can we get signal coverage everywhere? The network is going to be a saturation growth, like are you getting enough bandwidth in all the locations? And the third will be a restriction on interference due to the density of the radios that are out there and managing those.
And actually, Anthony, that you skipped over, there's a question from Chris that's kind of related to details of technical integration.
Yeah, can anyone speak to the details of technical integration, particularly how big a lift is expected to be a typical carrier? Yeah, so we're finding the same questions from the different partners, and they have slightly different interfaces between them. So we think we're in getting the first one done in terms of like tying into their IPX and tying into their core and having all the different interfaces coming up is, I hope the first one is the heaviest one, and the next one, and then they get easier over time after that. Time will tell if that's true. So, we're hoping that becomes the case. We're progressing and adding a lot more to the stack that we have now to get the functionality of interchanging into other networks where, vice versa, Pollen users can roam onto other MNOs. It could be, overseas as well, and then users can roam on locally from there to get that. I hope that's what you were looking for, Chris.
There's also the interplay with the other questions. There are going to have to be certain minimum performance metrics we have to hit for folks to want to pay to use the RAN. So that's
there's like uptime limitations. Yeah, so the goal is like we want to get for the flowers or any radio to earn kind of like compensation from a carrier that's going to want to be being used in a location where they want to offload traffic, and it has certain like quality standards so that it feels native to their network. And we want to obviously match the same type of requirements on there. So I don't know if the 22-hour uptime is back, but that's going to be probably more stringent even for the MNOs. There's like a whole bunch of SLAs in terms of the speed of the backhaul that's going to be connected, and other types of traffic like that. I don't know if I can share more than that, but that's kind of a start. As we get the first offload deal done, it will be in stages so that people can adjust their setups to make sure that they can take advantage of it if need be. We have another question. So, wouldn't penalizing a flower if only 1 or 2 BBs connect disincentive people from bringing up flowers to new cities?
I can answer that.
Yeah, that's great.
So I think that's a good point. I think what we're trying to convey is like we'd create like an expected bee scene type thing, or like a expected bee connects based on how many bees were in the area.
Well, bees were in the same hex, right? So,
Yeah,
so if
right.
you had like 20, like I think there are places where there's like over 20 BBs coming through hexes where only 1 or 2 of them are attaching to a flower. And those BBs are only attaching to that flower. So there's a clear signal there that that's bad.
Right.
Which is, not what I think what you're asking for is we don't want to do. So in cities where there are more densities of BBs, you're going to be expected to get more attaches and get more awards. I think it's happening now already. If you look at San Francisco, like some flowers are getting
A lot more rewards.
attaches just because of the traffic happening, especially as we start having UE attaches doing valid. UEs is the fancy name for a phone in telco speak. As the phones will be doing attaches and we're validating the flowers through that, I think the expected ratio of the BBs that you need to hit is going to be more clear. we definitely want to be able to expand to new cities over time. And there might be different requirements based on density. Christian, you want to add anything?
No, I think you covered it.
Thanks to the Discord room to report those BBs. Yeah, we definitely want to see them there. That would be ideal versus support tickets.
Yeah, anti-gaming. That's
Yeah.
probably the best place, as mentioned.
We should probably do anti-gaming, like flowers anti-gaming.
Like different ones for each
honeybees
one.
anti-gaming, bumblebees, yeah, just so we can have more precise channel. Heated lime, without explicitly stating what classifies as gaming for HBs, is it fair to call something gaming? For example, is having 10 different cell phones with honeybees dropping pollen in the same location gaming? This hasn't been defined. Yeah, I think that's not against the rules now. But generally, like the anti-gaming thing is like, is this something that you would do if you're a user of the system? And so if you have 10 phones because you got 9 kids and they're all hanging in the minivan with you, that's great. If you're just doing 10 phones because you're trying to get more rewards for yourself, that's probably not where we want to go. I'm not saying it's against the rules right now, but generally the direction of thinking about what's gaming, what's not, is would you naturally be doing this if you're building out or using the network yourself?
And I think the honeybee gaming is a little different from the bumblebee gaming because in the future we foresee honeybees being the end users, and so like they'll have to pay for data in order to game the system, which kind of prevents them from wanting to game. That's not the case right now, obviously, because we're in phase 1, so people aren't being forced to pay for their data. But we see honeybee gaming as potentially less lucrative for the gamers because they would have to go through the data credits process. And so I realize that's not a solution for right now, but I think that's kind of the framework we're approaching the gaming aspects for the honeybee from.
Yeah, the objective of the honeybee pollen drop was going to be to have demand signal for where flower coverage is requested and have a cleaner way of steering the demand for more traffic. So it's better for you not to do the 10 phones. If you're doing it now, fine. At some point there will be a charge for that, and then have 1 million phones if you want. It'll be the network needs to earn more than it dishes out once it starts entering phase 2.
Right.
And let's be honest, the only people who can legitimately claim they have 9 kids in the minivan are like Elon Musk and Nick Cannon. So unless you're them, it's probably gaming.
Well, I'm honored that Elon Musk and Nick Cannon are both on the network and dropping pollen everywhere. So, all right. Anti-gaming, agree with this. You mentioned it again now. Would be nice to have an answer addressed. For example, is 2BB and 2HB in the same car considered gaming? Right now, we said that the 2 BBs,
2 BBs will
are
trigger the
swarming,
anti-swarming.
and therefore the rewards will get there. I think the pollen drops and the 2 HBs are not a problem now. We might need to revive that next week when we do a chat over it. Won't a minimum number of attaches just lead to people shutting off their BBs around other people's flowers, so less pick?
Maybe not, right? Like you're still incentivized to earn for yourself, so shutting off your BB around other people's flowers will still get you less PCN overall.
Yeah, we did the math that early on because we were worried about this scenario.
Yeah.
An attach, if you controlled, I think we said like 10% of all the flowers, and you could do this effectively, then you would be generating. I guess now it's 20% because it's 5. It's 10 to 2.
Right.
So you'd have to own 20% of the network for that to be.
You would have to own 20% of the network for you to be able to scheme PCN from not reaching other cities or other people.
By turning it off and not.
By turning it off and not providing. Yeah. Correct.
Which we don't think is the case now, and we think that won't be the case, hopefully ever. If that does become the case, then we can probably change that to where you have to validate, like your bumblebees would not earn as much if they haven't seen other flowers in the area.
Yeah. And then he said Antonio Cromartie is a noted pollen customer. Well, that's awesome to hear. I think Kevin O'Leary is about to become a pollen customer as well, which could be awesome. Just some talk we've heard on podcasts.
Well, I think that was the. He's got quite a few kids too.
No
If
doubt.
I'm not mistaken.
Way more into tabloid stuff than I am. I have no idea about that. So anyway, we want everybody in the world to be a pollen customer. So that's great. All right, so let's go next. Has there been talk on changing the limit of hexes on some flowers? I heard the buttercup have amazing locations, cover more than 25 hexes. Yeah, that's true. That's what we're talking about, height and optimal locations. I think we will probably do need to do a revision there of a way to increase it for those that are genuinely getting more coverage on that. So that's coming. Swarming thing actually hurts the social incentive. I used to hang with friends, drive around together, socialize. Now we have pollinate separately, stay with each other. Yeah, I think it's actually pretty, unless you're hanging out with your friends for 80% of the time, you're not penalized. So if you were to be,
It's not 80%. It's like between 60 and 70%.
yeah,
but
sure,
yeah,
sure. But let's
right.
say like Shri and I hang out all day together. We're cruising town, pollinating. We're hanging. Like if we go back to our separate homes and our BBs are with us, like they're gonna see that they went to different locations for the majority of the time there. And so when we're together, even though we the bulk of our flower coverage happened in a passionate 5 hour, 6 hour, drive together where we talked about many topics, like they'd still be separately and they wouldn't be seen as swarming.
Yeah.
At least we think that's how the swarming works right now.
No, that is how it works. Yeah. No, that is.
No, I know
how
it's how it works, but whether or not it's actually working, is a different story. Yeah.
So far, so good. Did you want to?
Because we definitely wanted to so swarming, we definitely don't. We want to make sure that the social scene is not impacted by that for those reasons.
And so if more than 40% of the time they're not in the same room or in the same hex together, then that's fine. So like literally keep your bee on, take it home, leave it on overnight, and you'll have avoided that situation. Yeah. Any more color on progress and milestones for botanists as it relates to remote management of flowers? That's a really good question. So I think that's something we're going to introduce as a fast follow for the botanist. It's something we really want to and emphasize, but it's also something we want to do with security and with privacy in mind. And so I think in the near future, we're going to have the botanist connect to your wallet so that we know that you're the owner of those NFTs, and that's what will tell us that you are authorized to see the information about these flowers and to perhaps do remote management stuff like reboots and stuff like that. So that's something that we plan on building into our web app for the botanist and in the future in a phone app as well. But it's something that we're actively working on, but not the priority at the moment, not the top of the priority list for the botanist at the moment. I'd say top of the priority list for the botanist was redoing the NFT flow, and we're going to make sure that works first and test that out. And as that becomes more mature, you will also get features like remote management. But the main concern with the remote management stuff is like we want to make it secure while also making it relatively anonymous. And so we think the wallets holding the NFTs being linked to your app would be the best way to do that. But we're still working through that product.
Time frame on 100B Android app. I'm dying for this. This is going to be a great thing. We should probably encourage folks to help us with that. That's one of my top priorities that I want to see happening. I don't have a date for when that would coming, but that should come soon. 2BBs is anti-swarming. I have no other flowers within 200 miles. This needs to be thought more. Just thinking about San Fran. Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. I think we might need to have different policies for different regions.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I think of it from
for
the
different
perspective
densities. Not for regions, but for
densities. Yeah. Densities, that's fair. I think of it as the BB is a surrogate for you going and validating, right? So if you have two BBs in the same car and you're validating the same flowers, you're not adding any new information about what the network is doing or how the network is behaving. And that's kind of the threshold for us as to what anti-swarming means, right? It's like, are you providing information to the network that helps it grow or that identifies gaps? And so that's really the reason why we instituted the anti-swarming the way we did. That's why there's no min number of BBs or max number of BBs, it applies from the first BB on. But we're definitely open to hearing more feedback, and if you have thoughts on how it should work or why it shouldn't work the way it is.
I was going to say, would love to hear more about what the rationale would be behind having two BBs other than just juicing the rewards for the owner. Like what value? That's really the threshold for everything, the test for everything.
Make sure that you're not just self-pollinating yourself and gaming the system. And so I think that the two BBs come into play when you're in an area that has a certain density of population of BBs. So I feel like we misspoke in terms of saying two BBs here. We would say,
well,
like
I wanted to say
percentage.
expected value, right? That's why I was saying expected value. It's kind of like how many devices do we expect to connect based on the density, based on how many people are around and like doing stuff, right? So, yeah. Another feedback we got: not all devices behave exactly the same,
Yeah.
even the same car. I mean, definitely true. Again, it's a hard balance to strike between someone having a bunch of bees in their car and just scooping up rewards versus providing new information to the network. And so, that's an active balance that we're trying to strike.
That's why we have honeybees plus. I mean, ultimately, this should all be on a honeybee. There's just limitations from the phone where you can't do this, so there'll always be some dedicated mapping device for that.
Yeah.
So we've got Vincent. He has a question about loot boxes. Let me see if I can bring him up.
This is Vincent. I was just wondering, can you guys hear me?
Yep. Yes, we can.
I was just wondering, how would you implement the loot boxes in the near future, and I guess how would it play out in like terms of being rewarded in certain hexes for coverage?
Yeah, that's a great question. So loot boxes have not been turned on yet, as you guys know. But when they are turned on, we envision them rewarding flowers for continuous coverage time-wise. So what I mean by that is if you've met the coverage threshold criteria for a 30-day period of covering the same hex for 30 days, we will grant all of the bounty rewards and the loot box reward to the flower that covers that hex. So if multiple flowers cover the same hexes over the same 30-day period, they would share that reward. And the bounty reward is not a one-time reward. So it would be handed out for every hex every day, granted that hex was covered for the last 30 days. So what that means is that you could potentially keep pollinating hexes and keep receiving rewards for those pollination activities with the daily bounties that come in. We're still waiting to implement this based on feedback that we've gotten and based on limitations that we have with respect to uptime statistics and other flower-related statistics that we wanted to nail down. So it's still in the works, but that's how it would work. And then on the pollination side, right now pollen drops are being accumulated across all time. They would start to decay after 90 days. So that's something else that would start to happen, is that after the 90-day period, you would start to see a reduction of the number of the amount of pollen in that hex. And that's a rolling 90-day window. So you can imagine like the 91st day will be discounted, but the new day will be counted. So that's kind of how we envision the bounties working. We see that as like a continuous feedback mechanism to keep incentivizing people to use their honeybees and roam around, but also a reward sharing mechanism between flowers that are covering the same regions. If they manage to report coverage across the same hexes continuously, they'll both be rewarded with the bounties. So it's like an additional bonus on top of what you're already earning for your validation and attach activities. Are there any questions on that?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's go back to questions and then we'll wrap it up.
Sounds good. BeeHive chat.
Hey, we might even finish in an hour. It's amazing.
No, we got more questions.
Okay. Any plans to expose some insights from BBs to iOS app, similar to Honeybee current state? Yeah, somebody's a genius asking that question. We're definitely thinking about that. I think that's going to be a game changer for steering your steering your bumblebee through your bumblebee attaches. So that's coming soon to a iOS app near you. And then hopefully the Android will follow that fairly quickly. Have you looked into reward scaling based on signal dBm, i.e. 75 dBm attaches more than 110 dBm? By the way, 110 dBms don't give rewards right now. There's a threshold on that, and so you can get a connection without getting so you can get attached without getting a reward because it's too weak. So we do a flavor of that. We need to do more on the Bumblebee to scale versus just binary thresholding. And I think that's also a really good point that we should add into the next. We think that the binary was a great way to start off. I think next is
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
we're thinking of like multiple things, right? So on the Bumblebee side, there was also like this concept of like the speed test, right? Like this is something that we may want to do in the near future as well. Is like instead of incentivizing based on signal strength, which is a surrogate for how much connectivity you have, you could actually test your network and see how much speed you're getting, how much bandwidth you're getting. And I think that would also be a good scaling mechanism for determining, how good the coverage is and how much reward you should get for it.
All right, scroll up. Okay, the value of having two BBs is because sometimes one BB won't. I know this is a BB deficiency that we need to improve. Validating, we'll turn one off and reboot. Yeah, I think if you're doing it that way, you also won't have any.
Yeah, if you turn on and off your devices at different times, let me rephrase that. If your BBs are on at different times, then the swarming will not trigger.
Usually validation happens blindly, assuming we covered it, but seeing info visually will help a lot. Yeah, no, we would definitely agree that the visual map is important.
Question is, if the flower goes offline and back online within a day, will the bounty timeline reset?
Yeah, let me think about that. Why do that?
Yeah, so I think it would it would be would the bounty timeline reset? I have to think about that. So it would be up to that uptime statistic, right? So we still haven't nailed down the uptime statistic, but if we do introduce the uptime statistic, then that will predicate whether or not the device was online or not for that day. So initially we had 22 hours of uptime, but that was something we couldn't check for. So yeah, in the future we will have an uptime statistic.
Okay. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, what happens if a flower covers more than the maximum number of hexes? It gets validated in that hex 30 days in a row, but doesn't get credit for a few hexes. It goes to many. That we can say, yeah, we need to fix that so that if you truly have more coverage than you have, then you should get credit for that.
Yeah.
And if
I think are you asking Max about the loot box? The loot box only applies to the hex you're in.
No, loot box for the hexes you're covering.
Yeah, it's the hexes you're covering, yeah.
The hex you're in doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter for covering the hex you want, but it's the coverage that you get there. I think we're covering it by saying we increase the. I think you're saying if you're covering 25, and that 25 set is changing over time, but you're actually covering, like, let's say you're covering 30 of it, and then 25 getting clipped.
Yeah, that is what he's saying. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, a subsection of that, and I think we should fix it to make it where you get all of them.
Yeah, I think that's more of the height versus hex limit type question than it is the bounty coverage question.
Bumblebee app works like Honeybee app, showing state of particular Bumblebee instantly. That would help for those going blind. Yes. I don't know why it's helpful for those that are going blind. I mean, it just helps for driving around doing that. Okay. That's exactly the other point. Is you can add in your Explorer seeing Bumblebee stats. Sorry, not in your Explorer, in your Honeybee.
In your your
app.
Bumblebee stats and Honeybee stats all in one or something, right? Yeah.
Are you guys considering rewards, multipliers for carrier grade, multi-BC installed, high-density urban environments? These locational price and come with high fixed cost lease, multi-year leases, ability to find insurance and upfront capex. Yeah, I mean that's the whole point of larger HAGS limits and coverings. It could be that we scale the rewards based on the quality of service you're putting. So if you're giving super high quality, you're getting more for those. That's a good point. Definitely need to look at adding that. Andrew posted some great examples of installs because the previous section. That's great. Will there ever be a way to determine real-time coverage of flowers?
I think in the future, yes, it's something we're working on right now.
Yeah. Asking about the loot box. So if I cover 50 hexes, I only get 25 that pop up in the logs each day. But yeah, I think we covered that, which is basically we need a fix for the ones that they cover to keep track of the running tally, not on the 25 cap, but on the total coverage, to make sure we don't clip incorrectly. If we do not make it to a flower before the new day cutoff, 5 p.m. PST, do we lose rewards? Sometimes heading after work, it's not possible to make it 5 p.m. Yeah, so this was kind of related to Steve asking, I think, a question previously about can we have a degraded reward so you don't have to go Bumblebee validation on every reward every day. I think we're thinking about that. We think it's going to decay over time, but that we would, after a flower's been out for a certain amount of time and validated a certain amount of time, it would like earn status of being like, we expect you to be there. If you don't get validated, you'll get like X percentage of the previous day's pick allocation, assuming that you were there. Now, if you didn't you got a negative validation, or if you had, somebody else, you would get accordingly the effect from that. But I think the forcing specifically in areas where there's far away of doing a Bumblebee validation every day might be something we want to relax, which I think in this would relax the 5 p.m. cutoff. You'd get it for the next day. And so the thinking is like if you get that, if you were able to go by, say it's like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. when you can go buy the flower, you would get credit for the next day, and therefore the next day you come back, if you got it by 8 p.m., you would get it for the following day. So it's not the only reason why this kind of makes sense. If you can catch it on like 4 p.m. and like 5:30 p.m. or 4:30 and 5:30, whatever, then you would get 2 days worth, and you would just do that every other day, which is not that higher value anyway for us, and we want to find a way to make that, and that's where the decay over time would potentially offset that double validation within an hour that doesn't really bring you anything.
Yeah, makes sense.
Are you guys going to go back to tracking the top EBs every day on Explorer? It's been stuck for a week plus now.
That's news to me, but I will check that and make sure that's not the case.
Yeah, and then we also, this is a good segue. Go ahead, Christian.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, I think we're over time and should probably make this the last question, but go ahead.
Yeah, and this was any live ones. I would say the thing is, so we've been talking about doing a Show Us Your Flowers campaign and Show Us Your Bars. I think that's coming. I'm really excited about that. I think it actually really helps drive the social aspect of the network, and it drives the validation to show that we have real connectivity in real places to make that the network expand. So more on that on the next call.
I think we should hang up before a bunch of new questions come flooding in.
That's not the way we do it. That's not the way we do it.
I'm just seeing a bunch of typing.
Yeah. No. We should get everybody typing in and get.
Also, ledger data missing for a few days in August. Yeah, I'll definitely check that, guys.
Missing.
You guys can also download the ledger straight from the Explorer, and it should be up to date for the latest day. But I will also update the the Google Sheet, so it's up to date for every day so far.
Yeah. All right, we'll take this last one here, but thank you everyone for coming in. Please feel free to jump off, obviously. Any thoughts on improving the validation process for flowers that provide overlapping coverage? Yeah, we need to find a way to switch between the ones that are there. So that's kind of a preview for next things. We'll be doing handovers soon so that you can move from one flower to the next. And that might be a really powerful way to, when you get to one hex, go to all the flowers in that hex automatically for right now. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week or 2 weeks in a row.